You're live.
Hey everybody, and thank you for joining us for the 82nd week of the Free Assange Online Vigils. My name is Andrew Smith, and I am joined by my co-hosts Steve Poikinen and Misty Winston. We do have a very special guest with us, Jesse Zurawell, but before we bring him in, I do want to get through the numbers. Today is day 3,699 of the illegal and arbitrary detention of Julian Assange. It is 654 days since the WikiLeaks founder was trafficked from the Ecuadorian embassy to Belmarsh prison after being sold to the United Kingdom for a $4.2 billion loan from the International Monetary Fund to the nation of Ecuador. It has been 20 days since Vanessa Breitzer's June 6, 2021 ruling denying Julian Assange bail after ruling no extradition and personally ordering his release on January 4th based on the conditions of U.S. prison systems and mental health concerns. It is 1,323 days of federal incarceration for whistleblower Reality Winner. It is 319 days of freedom for Chelsea Manning, and she does stream on Twitch quite frequently, so you can go over and check her out, XYChelsea87. And it is 70 days in a halfway house for whistleblower Jeremy Hammond. It is not complete freedom, but it is better than a prison, and hopefully he will be out of there soon. But with that, how are you doing today, Steve?
I have the day off of work because we're supposed to get rainstorm Armageddon. We're expected to have mudslides and like be more or less cut off from society for quite a while. So because I had the day off, I did several shows, and here we are. Yeah, got to have a wonderful conversation with our good friend Jason Burmis, and an incredibly long, incredibly just killer conversation with Nico. And Gloria and I did a stream, and I did a radio show out of Canada, and it was yeah.
Can we just talk about how crazy your life is right now? Like, you just had fires a few days ago, and now you have like heavy rain and mudslides.
Yeah, last week I was on standby because there was a wildfire about a mile and change from my house, and I did have to evacuate because of wildfires in the middle of the live stream. You know what? The amount of trauma that I've experienced just in the past year should break people, and yet here I am.
Well,
good on you for it.
Steve. But how are you today, Jesse? Thank you very, very much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for inviting me on sort of at the last minute. It's always a pleasure to be with you, Steve, and my co-host Misty from Facts on the Ground. But I'm doing well. Looking forward to our conversation. So thank you.
Just want to point out that Jesse did not say it was nice to be around Andrew, and I think we all feel that way at this point.
No, I did say Andrew.
I'm just ridiculous.
Kidding, man.
And Josh.
Listen,
I know Josh is like
you're
behind the scenes.
a genuinely nice human being, Jesse.
No,
so I had
Jesse,
to like
this has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just being Steve.
This is just Steve busting Andrew's balls and using you to do it.
Okay.
That's what that is.
I'm always fine with being used as a means to an end, so don't worry about it.
So I did want to get your opinion, because we haven't talked on the vigil here about it in a while, about how Julian's extradition case unfolded, the judge's decision to deny bail after ordering his release, and just all those other things that happened. I was just wondering what your take of it was and kind of how you felt about the situation going forward.
Well, I'm happy that he wasn't extradited, that decision was not made, but since then and as of now, he's still imprisoned in Belmarsh and essentially being tortured both physically and psychologically to death, in my opinion. And I would love to say that the extradition denial was a victory, but as long as he's still imprisoned in Belmarsh, where COVID is rampant, where he is experiencing psychological torture. There's the physical torture of not having heat in his cell. As long as he's in there, I don't think there are things that we can seriously call victories. And I don't know what the future holds for him, especially with regard to the US and what they're trying to do. But I'm not optimistic. I'll say that. I was optimistic the day Trump was pardoning a bevy of people, and I think it's a good thing that he pardoned a lot of so-called drug offenders. I don't think those people should be. You don't really deserve to rot in prison. But I kind of thought he was gonna, take his parting shot and be like, I'm gonna pardon at least Assange, if not, Snowden, and then Chelsea Manning. And
I thought maybe he was gonna do Snowden. Didn't you guys kind of?
So I mean, I would just say with regard to the future, I want to be hopeful, but it's very difficult based on what I've seen so far, and there are so many manipulations going on behind the scenes that we don't even hear about. So
I feel like we should do an entire episode on the ecosystem around the presidential pardon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's worth like other shows doing the same as well, like on their own time, just like, hey, why is John Kiriakou walking around saying it takes an average of $2 to $2.5 million just to get in the door of talking about a presidential pardon seriously?
Mm-hmm.
And go from there.
Seriously, you guys, it's so fucked up. Like, this is fucked up, and nobody seems to talk about it. Nobody, like, it's. Well, I mean, I guess some people did. Like, I mean, in our circles, kind of. I mean, it's disappointing that there aren't more people talking about it that should be, like, you know what I mean? There are a lot of people who are very intelligent and otherwise seem to get what's going on, but for some reason they don't pay attention to what's happening to Julian Assange. They don't pay attention to the attacks on the First Amendment, or, and to me, it's like one of the most obvious things happening right now. And I get that, like, not everybody can be on that, but it's still just really frustrating. I mean, and just how blatant and out in the open it is. It's really depressing.
And what I fear is that obviously all of us are very focused on what's happening to Julian and following it on the reg, and we're doing what we can to hopefully get him freed. But what I'm afraid of happening is that, now that the extradition decision has come and gone, and that was sort of like held up and almost even like vaunted as like the date, like this is when everything is going to be decided. Now that that's come and gone, there's part of me that fears he's going to be forgotten, abandoned, not by people, such as ourselves who are paying attention to what's happening to him, but more so people who, that's not in their everyday sort of political sphere, not to denigrate them, just saying, I think it was on a lot of people's radars, even if they weren't quite familiar with the case. I think it was on a lot of people's radars when, especially when the extradition decision was handed down. And I feel like the lack of spectacle, for lack of a better word, might draw a lot of necessary attention away, but I don't know. I want to be optimistic about it for sure, but it's very difficult to say.
Well, that's what public pressure campaigns are all about. And that's what, I mean, I feel like right now we've got a fairly good opportunity to capitalize on the number of people who have become not just more aware, but more vocal about it since really September and the witness testimony hearings. And our very own Misty Winston has basically taken it upon herself to start up a new round of letter writing campaigns and is working with Stella Morris. And if you'd like to fill us in on that, that'd be
I don't think it's fair
fantastic.
to say that I'm working with
In
Stella.
tandem, along,
Listen, I would,
concurrently towards
No.
similar purpose.
Steve Poikonen, I would love to take credit and be like, I'm totes working with Stella Morris. You know what I mean? Like, that shit. Like, I like to pretend that happens to make myself feel better about my failures. But
You're a foreign agent with nefarious
Coordinating?
connections to
Yeah.
Stella Morris.
yeah,
Helping
she's
to
just-
facilitate.
yeah.
I will
Anyway.
paint you with what the fuck ever brush I want to, Misty.
All right, that's fair. I'll take it. I am your canvas, sir. But yes, she has been very receptive to me when I've reached out to her to ask specific questions because, I, as much as I am in this for like my own reasons, like I very much want to respect them and how they want to approach things too. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a balancing act of like doing my own, like what I feel is good and right, but also asking that, like, I've reached out to his mom and asked her questions about things, and so yeah, she's just been very receptive when I reached out to her. I asked her like if there's anything, like what messaging she would want us to, kind of try to focus on, which was basically the same thing I was going to do not to kind of to pat myself on the back, but this trying to make this into a Trump legacy thing, and you're continuing Trump legacy of attacking the media, and because I think in terms of public pressure, that's going to be the best, because everybody hates Donald Trump, right? And so if we make it seem like, if this isn't really, I don't know if I should say this out loud, but this isn't really Donald Trump's legacy. Barack Obama started this shit, but this is something that Trump went that one step more, like by having him arrested and pulled from the embassy and all of those things. So we can turn this into a Trump legacy thing. And if we use that publicly, people who hate Trump are going to listen, and it may take a while for them to get it. But those people will at least be like, oh, why is he continue? Because everybody made it a big deal that Trump was attacking Jim Acosta and calling him names and being so mean and all that ridiculousness. So using that sort of reaction that people had to that, and framing it as Donald Trump's legacy of attacking the media, that's good for public pressure. So let's use that. And I don't know if they'll read the letters at the White House, but if we're all sending them en masse, and we have to do whatever we can, to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, and writing a letter takes 5 minutes. So it seems like an easy way to do something. So yeah, here we go. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm definitely not doubting sort of the optimism you're putting forth, Misty, and I think that the collective direct action is absolutely important. The totality of the system is always what I come back to, and just how oppressive it can be. And I don't hold out much, if any, hope that it's going to,
Change it all. Yeah, I get it.
yeah, change, or
You
like
know me,
sudden,
dude,
or
I'm a
like
cynic too.
suddenly roll over. Yeah, I know y'all feel
Yeah.
the same way.
We have to try.
Yeah,
I know.
Well,
Yeah, I
really
agree.
like the
Absolutely.
sunshine and hopium room.
Yeah. Well, like Steve always says, if I didn't have like that little tiny bit of hope in my cold, dead heart, I wouldn't do what I do. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there has to, every activist, no matter how cynical you are, and I'm pretty cynical, you have to have that like little bit of, fight. I think really what it is, it's just fight. Like I just get pissed off and I want to fight. Like I want to fight back. Like it angers me. So when I get mad, I want to do something, and that's just how I mean, that's my copium, is
Yeah.
fighting. So
No, I'm on the same page. I think we
Yeah.
should absolutely keep fighting. I just also think it's we should be very wary of, and I think folks like us are, not to put us in a club, I think a lot of folks are, but wary of the totality of repressive and suppressive power of this government and what they can really do to us and our movements if they want to.
So on that note, we have a call to action that I just put up on our website right before we went live. I've put it out 2 other times to cities, but I never put it out to our community to try and circulate. And Steve's probably going to try and murder me after the show. But there's 210 cities that I sent notifications to telling them this time on February 28th from 2 to 4 p.m. in that city's time zone, there will be an event occurring, right? A little over a month, like from now, like 34 days maybe. So I'm going to put that link in chat for everyone. If you're interested, please help me share it around, because I figure give people a space, like build a space for people to come together. And they're free Assange events, but the hope is to offer space and solidarity to other groups, because there's so many other people taking a stand about so many other things. And that just gives us a chance to come around together under a common cause and share our collective issues with one another. So I look forward to seeing how this turns out. Hopefully it'll be fun.
Yeah, well said, Andrew. I think that brings up a good point too. That and Misty and I were talking about this before one of our shows the other day, but there is a direct line you can draw between what's happening to Julian Assange and the fight for forcing the vote and Medicare for all. It's because of the war crimes for which trillions of dollars are spent a year that the money's not there for Medicare for all. And that's, these are the crimes that Julian Assange and WikiLeaks have been pointing out. And I think that, that goes back to what you just said. Like you can call them overlapping causes or movements or whatever, but it's a bad example. It's sort of like that movie Crash, though, where everything's connected, or maybe a better example would be Magnolia. But point being, I think there's a direct line you can draw between U.S. foreign policy and why we don't have universal health care and education.
Well, like you're going to get me on a rant again, but this, okay. What's happening to Julian Assange literally affects everything. I know I say this all the time, but it literally affects everything. And it's not about Julian Assange. It is legitimately about narrative control, and that it kind of started with him in a big way. It's always kind of been a battle, but they really ramped it up when they started going after him. But if you do not have the ability to, share information freely and have discussions and conversations, you cannot fight for any other cause. And so this is, it impacts literally every other thing that we face. And if you want Medicare for all, you need the ability, like free press, free speech, the ability to share ideas. If you want a better education system, if you want to end the wars, God, if you want to end the wars, are you kidding? It's really so much bigger than just Julian. Like, that's just like tip of the iceberg. This is going to be an ongoing battle forever, because, the psychopaths in charge, that's what they need. People say they want to fight fascism. One of the first things you will see in like a sort of a fascist takeover is trying to control the media. Mm-hmm. Trying to control the narrative. And that's, this is not rocket science. Like, this is what is happening. And it's, yeah, sorry, rant again. I know I talk about this all the time. I'm sure people get tired of hearing me talk about it, but it's so frustrating.
We had a super chat that I'm sure I can kick over into a rant for you too. They accurately asked, didn't the Democrats ask Trump to arrest Assange? And that is 100% correct.
Yes.
I'll put the link into it. It's actually democrats.senate.gov/ a whole bunch of letters. But there was 6 Democrats. There was Schumer.
I thought it was 11.
I thought it was 11.
This one is 6. This is them specifically asking to have Julian removed from the embassy. I'll
Can you sign on it?
We'll do it live. I'll pull it up.
And real quick, Jesse, the reason there's no money for Medicare for all is because they don't give a fuck about you.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
They
Like,
have the-
it's
such
not
awful
because
wars.
it goes to war. We have
No.
faith-based currency. We have fiat
Yeah.
currency. We printed nearly 2/3 of all money that has been printed into existence in this country since August of 2019.
Money isn't
All
real. Like, it's not.
Trump,
Like,
by the way. But for my fiscally conservative friends in the audience, but it isn't because the resources have been allocated elsewhere. We can do this all day as long as Congress authorizes a bill and it gets kicked over to the Fed. It's because they don't give a fuck about you.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I'm just like looking at it from the context of the US's hyper-capitalism and a hyper obsession with profit motives, and the fact that basically the only manufacturing base left in this country is the merchants of death, the war profiteers, the Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman. We all know these companies, and that's where the politicians get their bread buttered, for lack of a better metaphor. And but no, you're absolutely right. They don't give a fuck about us, and that's why I think that's why the politicians and the lobbyists just go at it with just I don't give a fuck about you attitude. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that one.
It amazes me that even still here in 2021, after people have had almost a half a century to get to know Joe Biden, that they're surprised at some of the things that he's done since he's been president. And I want to know what that trick is, that mass hypnosis trick that gets played on the populace, to where every couple of years, against all available evidence, they give the worst, I mean, just fucking worst possible scum.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And
Yeah.
you're like, oh no, just give him a little time. He's new to the job. I mean, poor guy probably gets lost on the way to the office. It's a big building,
but that's how they push him left. That's
You push him left, but and then you let him get permanently lost.
we played a mashup that our friend Kevin Gostola put together the other day. Did you see this?
I haven't seen it yet. No.
Graham just absolutely wetting himself over the responses that
Blinken gave,
Secretary of State Tony Blinken was giving him. Like, he straight caught the vapors more than once. He did. It was gross. I mean, I don't know another word. I can find more vulgar words than gross, but we get yelled at if we go full potty mouth for the entire episode. So
the PC way to describe Blinken is as a consummate interventionist, but the reality-based way to describe him is as a consummate war criminal. And he's coming back around again. All these motherfuckers are coming back around again, and it's happening in real time before our eyes. And
these are war criminals.
It is very much something to be worried about.
But back to the war criminals real quick. Dear Secretary Pompeo, we write to request that the State Department immediately brief Congress on your November 26th meeting with Ecuadorian Foreign Minister Jose Valencia. While the State Department has been unwilling to confirm any details publicly, we remain deeply interested in knowing whether you discussed the future of Julian Assange's presence in the Ecuadorian embassy in London in your meeting with the Foreign Minister Valencia. As you are aware, in January 2017, the unclassified report by the U.S. intelligence community assessed with high confidence that the Russian military intelligence used proxies to transfer hacked data obtained from cyber operations to WikiLeaks. These activities were explicitly intended to interfere in the 2016 U.S. elections. Congress and the American people deserve answers about the foreign interference in our elections and your effort to hold accountable those responsible. To that end, we ask that the State Department brief Congress on the following questions. Did you ask Foreign Minister Valencia to confirm whether Paul Manafort visited Julian Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, including as recently as March 2016, as described by media reports? And that's a literal article that's never existed. Did you, or not existed? It's been a complete fabrication since it was put out.
Is that the Luke Harding masterpiece?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over in the Guardian, I believe.
It's disgusting. I mean, everybody should take the chance to rail on him and joke about him for writing that, but in all seriousness, like, what a disgusting act of just writing in general. I wouldn't even consider that journalism. It's
No, it was completely made up. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
He looked, a whole ass outfit, you guys. They invented a whole ass outfit for Paul Manafort.
It is Hillary Clinton fan fiction.
Yeah. Exactly.
Essentially.
But what's like even more absurd almost is that the article's still there. It hasn't been retracted. Nobody's made any apology for it. And Luke Harding apparently still has a job. I haven't really seen him write anything. I haven't seen him make any appearances since.
He
really
crawled out of his little
Aaron
rat
Monte,
hole the other day.
He did crawl out of his rat hole the other day.
Oh, he did?
He emerged and he wanted everybody to completely forget about Julian Assange.
Mm-hmm. He's such a scumbag, you guys.
And along with it,
a
he
piece of shit.
probably really wants you to forget that it was him and David Lee's book that dropped the password to the unencrypted, unredacted Cablegate. He probably wants you to forget about that. I don't. I want you to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In fact, I honestly don't feel like Luke Harding gets enough shit. You know?
I don't either.
Well, according to the U.S. government, Luke Harding will get indicted. They argued in court that Luke Harding is responsible for publishing the information that WikiLeaks did before them. And so he is literally a co-conspirator according to the arguments accepted by the U.S. government in court as far as the timeline of release goes.
So that's interesting because that's news to me. But how do y'all feel about that? Because Luke Harding is a piece of shit, and I don't think there's any question about that. But
well, Andrew's being a little bit. He's forecasting.
Oh, okay. I see.
There's no indictment for Luke Harding.
No.
There's
okay, my bad.
No,
I thought it was like in the cards already.
Luke Harding is in no danger of ever being in any kind of trouble for anything he does because he is an established, like he is a, he's a douche canoe. Like he's he's that guy who just does writes what he's told. He's an absolute propagandist. So he isn't in no danger whatsoever. But what Andrew's saying is that is technically what they're arguing in court, and they're never going to, actually do that. They'll only use it against people who dissent or, speak the truth. But yes, technically, that's what they're saying, that they could.
It's why they brought the guy from Cryptome out into court during the witness testimony, because on Cryptome, all of the unredacted Cablegate is still there. You can go see it right now, and it's still there. Never once have they been given a cease and desist letter. Never once have they been threatened with any sort of legal action. Never once has anyone said move their founder from country to country and keep him tied up in legal entanglements for 25 years and go after everyone connected to his organization and his family. That's never occurred.
No.
Never
And
once.
I mean, the people that worked with Julian to release none of those people have gotten the treatment that he has. They all publish the same stuff that, so that's why they use the hacking thing. The hacking thing works in two ways. Then it actually makes it a crime, and also it others him. It makes him, he's not a journalist, he's a hacker. And that's the propaganda line that they try to use to, that's how these journalists make themselves feel better about not speaking out in his defense. Because he's not a journalist, he's a hacker.
And
I've seen so many of them say that.
When you point out Patrick Eller's testimony, they either block you, or they mute you, or they just slink away. And it's incontrovertible. And the guy who looked into it personally at the behest of the U.S. Army in the course of his job description at his position was like, yeah, no, there was no hacking. In fact, he didn't need a username or password to get any of that material. Crap.
I actually have the arguments that the judge accepted framed out for that. That was like the part that I went through in the court document today, if you want me to pull any of that up.
I mean, if you feel like it would be of assistance, by all means.
Sure.
Yeah, but I mean, this goes back to 2013 in Chelsea Manning's court-martial. Like, none of this is new information. So for anyone in media at all to pretend like there was a hack, they couldn't even prove that Julian Assange was Nathaniel Frank, for God's sake. Like, there's no there.
Yeah.
What there was an admission of guilt on the part of Chelsea Manning, who in no way, shape, or form implicated Julian Assange. And to this day, I believe Julian Assange refers to Chelsea Manning as an alleged whistleblower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Just because most of the media coverage I've watched of Chelsea has been, they just reflexively label her as a whistleblower. So, yeah, I didn't know that Julian.
Well, I mean, he's very careful with his words, always when discussing sources or anything, even almost related to sources. That's why when he was on with Hannity and he said specifically, I can tell you that our source was not a state actor, I believe him, because he has never, like, he's very, I think if anything, he is very careful about the record of accuracy that WikiLeaks has, the record of, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's something he takes very, and there's no way he would jeopardize that by lying like that to me. But I that's just me, my opinion, but it's, to me, it's just clear that he's very, very, very specific when even when you discuss Seth Rich, which, oh my God, here come the people like, she's talking about a conspiracy theory. Go fuck yourself.
I don't understand why that is anathema to so many people to talk about what happened to Seth Rich and the possibility that it was the DNC who had him murdered. Like,
here's the thing. This is an unsolved murder of a DNC employee under very suspicious circumstances in like a good neighborhood of Washington, D.C. It's supposed to be a botched robbery, but nothing was taken from him. Like, there's so much weirdness around that case. Like, forget, is he the DNC leaker or what? Forget that. Like, that's like, I'm a true crime nerd. Like, I'm interested. I want to know what happened to this guy, like,
yeah.
why am I not allowed to question and like ask and talk about it? And it's ridiculous.
And let's not forget about the late journalist Michael Hastings as well, who was murdered under, I think, still very, questionable, really doesn't get to it, but for lack of a better word, questionable circumstances. So, I don't understand why. Well, I do understand why, because people don't want to think it's true and they also have an agenda, but it's still baffling that, like, you put that out there, not saying it's true, but as a possibility, and people like like mobs of people like reflexively lash out at you like, no, there's no way this could possibly happen. The DNC would never do this, you know? And I point that out not just to make fun of them because those people are assholes, but also because there are so many of them, and it's dangerous, that kind of groupthink. And I'm not talking about like, you know, they need to be reprogrammed or anything, but the fact that programming has gotten to them to the point where they're just like, they'll roll over for Biden, you know?
There's a deprogramming that everybody goes through when they're, you know, getting out of two-party ideology. It's not, I mean, reprogramming, yeah, that's harsh. But I mean, you do have to sort of spend a while untangling that web of shit. And the comparisons to Orwell and whatnot are overblown. However, I just spent the last like week or so watching people lose their freaking minds because the Convo Couch or Jimmy Dore had a conversation with a Boogaloo boy and nobody was listening to the conversation that was taking place. Nobody was listening to what Pasta and Fee were asking and what they were talking about. What they were doing in the chat was dropping the talking points of their pet YouTuber. And so I bring up Orwell to come back to the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. And that's where we're at. People are literally refusing to acknowledge what their eyes and ears are telling them. And in a incredibly programmed, conditioned, reactionary fashion are not responding, but kind of like hurling talking points. And it's killing me to watch, dude. Oh, is it frustrating?
No, you're not exaggerating. I mean, if anybody watching is on Twitter, they know, I think they'd know exactly what we're talking about. It's like, I mean, I got last night pilloried as a propagandist, which in a way I found like quite generous and endearing, that what I write is so able to brainwash people. I'm that good of a writer. So, but no, it's you put something out that's a matter of historical record, and I don't really know who many of these people are, but you know, they come out of the woodwork and they do everything they can, but address the issue at hand. It's, you know, basically what they do boils down to just ad hominem attack after ad hominem attack, and the issue doesn't get addressed. And then you go back and look at, you know, the timeline of the conversation, and it's like, it looks like somebody trying to talk reason to a brick wall. And yeah, I don't know who these people are and where they come from, but I'm not surprised at all that Jimmy got pilloried the way he did for having the Boogaloo boy guest on. I don't know his name, but
Magnus, I think.
Okay.
Right? I think it's like a very interesting. I think it's Magnus. I think. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure. It's like right. It's a very interesting name, so I think that's right. But yeah, you're absolutely right, and this is okay. The absolute ridiculousness right now of pretending that saying, you know, hey, we should have conversations with people we don't agree with. And taking that and turning it into you're a Nazi and you're a fascist sympathizer, and you know, it's, oh my God, it's so exhausting, you guys. It's so exhausting.
But can we jump into the court doc?
Real quick, before we do that, I have to give my Slow News Day co-host Gloria Jones a big shout out, because her point the point that she raised, like when we were talking about it, was, do these idiots genuinely think that when we get around right wingers, we co-sign everything that they do?
Yeah.
Like that, or because these people are going to get talked to about whatever racism they've internalized, and we're going to have a dialogue about exactly what we need to do moving forward. But you can't do that shit unless you get out and talk to them.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous to label 75 million people as literal Nazis because they voted for Donald Trump. That is fucking infantile and ridiculous and self-defeating. These are people who voted for Bernie in the primary. These are people who voted for Barack Obama in 2012. And you're labeling them all white supremacist Nazis, all of them. Like, that's what I'm seeing. You can't even like say like you want to even talk to a Trump supporter. If you say that, then all of a sudden you are aligning with Boo Boys and Proud Boys and you're a Nazi. That's not what I said. I said that not all conservatives are Nazis. Not all conservatives are white supremacists. Not all Trump voters are terrible, evil, irredeemable racists. Like, a lot of them are just regular people who have been screwed over and they've been propagandized to be mad at the wrong people and the wrong things. That's it. And it's okay to like be able to have a conversation with those people and not agree with them and loathe some of the things that they may say. A lot of them are casually racist. A lot of them are very racist. But there are racist people on the left. So it's fucking ridiculous. And then for you to like be voting for Joe Biden and then calling me a fascist enabler, go fuck yourself. You voted for a fascist. Like, I'm done. I'm done with this bullshit. I'm so done with it. Like, you guys need to grow the fuck up and realize that wanting to have a conversation with somebody I don't agree with doesn't make me a fucking fascist. Period. That's ridiculous. Sorry. Rant over.
I mean, you know, Max Boot is essentially now considered a leftist. Like
John Brennan.
Yeah, these are
John
terrible.
Brennan to get his pink pussy hat. Like, when's that come?
Like, these are like Max Boot is an actual propagandist. John Brennan is an actual war criminal. Maybe Max Boot could be considered one too, since he helped architect the war on Iraq, which is still happening through his terrible writing. But yeah, it's like people treat it like it's only a one-way street. Like there are only racists on the right. I feel like there are a lot more racists and ignorant and repressive people on the left, or the so-called left, than there are on the right. And that's not giving any deference to the right. It's just pointing out material reality. I mean, you know, look at people like Emma Vigeland, for example. I'm not calling her a racist, but if you read what she puts out constantly, it's just this bourgeois orientalist perspective of the US and, you know, foreign policy, if her brain can like handle leaving the continent. And but people buy into it, you know. She writes for the Times, right? I forget.
Emma Vigeland?
No. Yeah, I don't know. I try not to pay attention to her.
She's like a CYT alumni.
Oh, CYT, yeah.
I think she's on Majority Report, which is perfect.
She's getting the MSNBC money now.
Yeah.
Or at least by extension. And she grew up in the Hamptons.
Yeah.
Her dad's like one of the top cops in New York.
Yo, the Hamptons are ghetto as fuck.
I mean,
who did she intern for? Was it Klobuchar? Did she intern for Klobuchar? Or was it what's the other one? The other
no, it was Kirsten Gillibrand.
That's it. That's the other one. I get those two confused.
But yeah, I mean, so her perspective is going to be that of a sheltered, wealthy, white chick. I don't, and it's going to come out insulting because that's how her, you know, it's how they communicate. Like I fucking, when you've got people who have grown up thinking that poor people are beneath them, and then they're in a position where their audience is poor people, they're going to be insult. Like a lot of that's going to come out insulting. What's going to come out as confirmation bias is the lazy, like quasi-campus Marxist lingo with no real world experience. Scope of experience determines relatability, and she can relate to other, like, you know, bougie campus quasi-Marxists for sure. Absolutely. But to anybody who's actually experienced any kind of like real world or hardship, no, fuck no. Andrew, you've got slides.
I was just letting you talk about nothing for a while. I figured we can go on.
You fucking day, man. I didn't. You look a little long in the face there, and figured we could bring it back on.
Look at him. He's like all slow.
Keep it going. We can talk about nothing for a while.
I'm good, dude. I'm good.
Hey, are you saying Emma Vigland is nothing?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Like that's a fart in the wind in the scope of.
Yeah. No, exactly. She wouldn't be worth mentioning if she didn't have the platform she has and the reach she has. And if there weren't people, and I'm not saying like the majority of people are stupid or ignorant or sheeple or need to wake up or anything, but not everybody, the majority of people don't have the ability to, or the circumstances to, you know, dig into actual independent media. And they watch, you know, they'll watch CNN, they'll watch MSNBC, they'll watch Fox News, like whatever's readily available, and just kind of internalize that and like go on with their days because, you know, unlike us, they're not like we're much more invested in it for our particular reasons. But you know, I can see like how so many people, because they're stuck in that and having to rely on that they come to believe these narratives and the people who spin these narratives as reality. And it's not reality. It's a narrative that these people have, people like Emma Vigland have a financial interest, maybe a socio-political interest in shaping.
Andrew, you want to do your slides now, buddy?
I mean, we're like miles past what we were actually talking about when we were talking about it.
It's
Yeah.
okay, man. We can bring
Alright.
the whole thing
Yeah.
around. We
Listen,
can.
our audience is very smart. I'm sure that they can just get right back into it, my friend. Let's do it.
I
Let's go.
firmly believe in our community's ability to shift gears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Are one of us picking this up to read? You didn't introduce it or reintroduce it.
I mean, we introduced it before. This is talking about Chelsea Manning and Julian Assange's supposed relationship that the U.S. assumes is fact, and the arguments that the judge basically accepts by only ruling on the medical portion. The defense argues that Mr. Assange is accused of doing no more than engaging in the ordinary and lawful conduct of an investigative journalist, conduct protected by Article 10 of the European Council on Human Rights. The defense argues that to attract criminal liability, Mr. Assange's conduct must be a criminal act, which is separate from the actions of a whistleblower, which, in my opinion, is even argue if that should be criminal. It submits that it is without precedent to argue that because a whistleblower commits an offense by leaking information to the press, anyone who encourages, facilitates, or assists that act is legally liable as a conspirator in that crime. In support of this submission, it called witnesses including Professor Feldstein, Trevor Timm, and Nicholas Hager, who spoke about the work of investigative journalists. Professor Feldstein considered that the list of most wanted leaks posted by WikiLeaks was merely a bolder and more imaginative form of news gathering, differing in degrees only from the kinds of solicitations journalists routinely post on social media sites. He states, good reporters don't sit around waiting for someone to leak information. They actively solicit it. And these activities are not only consistent with the standards of journalistic practices, they are its lifeblood. Trevor Timm, co-founder and executive director of the Freedom of the Press Foundation, stated that Mr. Assange pioneered the use of encrypted digital Dropboxes to protect whistleblowers, and that the Freedom of the Press Foundation has itself developed a similar tool. Cloud Dropboxes are widely used by media organizations across the world, including the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Associated Press. The defense also submits that the harsh crackdown agreements was merely an attempt to protect the anonymity of Mrs. Manning. As a source, Professor Feldstein describes the protection of confidential sources as not only standard practice, but a crucial professional and moral responsibility of reporters.
Yeah, I think Professor Feldstein is absolutely right.
There are over 80 internationally known, just that, standard, regular, plain old mainstream news outlets that use that exact same Dropbox.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the only thing that will compromise a source if you use that Dropbox is that source or any sort of surveillance that the source had on them. This judge,
God, she's fucking awful. Okay, wait, I do have a
Where'd
question
she come
though.
from anyway?
Hell,
Literally no one knows. So Vanessa
Nobody
Bracer has no footprint on the internet. Most of her cases aren't accessible to the public. And for the most that we've known, reality has been bent because she has like a 99.9% you're going to hell rating with sending people into extradition.
Sounds like
Yeah.
Israel.
And there's like you can only find like one picture of her anywhere. And yeah, she's like been scrubbed from the internet. It's very bizarre. But do you guys happen to know who Kaylee on Twitter? I don't know if you guys follow her or not. She's super big into all of our stuff. But she was asking, do we know the judge's name that is taking up the appeal? Do we have that information yet? Do you guys know?
No.
The appeal hasn't even been formally filed. So
Okay.
the last thing that we knew was, I believe it was the 14th or 15th, the U.S. said that they were planning on filing their immediate appeal, that they said they were filing, but they needed 2 more weeks.
No, they filed.
They filed.
They filed the Friday before the due
Yeah.
date. But they
Yeah.
get 2
No,
weeks
they
to do
filed
their
an
like
extension.
final.
Yeah. They basically
Yeah.
said, hey, we need 2 weeks to do this thing that we said we were doing immediately. That's why you kept them in jails, because this was supposed to happen the next day.
I think actually that's just how it works. Like, I think you get to file the appeal. At least that's what I'm gathering. In the UK, you file the appeal and then you get 2 weeks to present like your argument for that.
Yeah.
Am I right on that? That's what I was getting from it.
Yeah.
I could totally be wrong though. But
From the sound of it, to me, it sounded like they got an extension to file.
No,
I think that's what was kind of like being talked about on Twitter, but I don't think that was accurate because I actually put that out too, and I don't think that's actually accurate. I think that that's just how it works in the UK. Like, you file the appeal and then you get 2 weeks to like present your evidence for that or whatever.
Yeah, it's a formality.
Yeah.
They
did wait till the last minute.
The way
kind
that
of.
the UK law language reads makes it sound a little bit different.
Yeah, it's wonky.
But essentially, it's what they filed was a declaration to appeal, and they have 2 weeks from the date of that filing to submit their formed arguments. It's not an extension so much as it is the granted allowable amount of.
That's just how it works. I was confused too, though, Andrew, at first.
And then a panel of judges, from what I understood, will determine whether or not the appeal has merit. If the appeal has merit, then they'll set a trial date.
Okay.
But what procedurally, and to make sure Julian Assange stays in the Guantanamo Bay of the United Kingdom, the U.S. can file meritless appeal after meritless appeal after meritless appeal, in the same manner that all of the lawsuits that Trump's legal team filed were found to not have standing. It doesn't mean that they weren't good arguments. It means that there was something procedurally meritless about it. So they didn't even take up the question.
Yeah. Yeah, I was confused too, though, Andrew, at first, because when it first started coming out, that was kind of the way it was being explained. And I was like, because I didn't even know they had filed, because they filed on the Friday. The Monday was like the last day, and they filed the Friday, but I didn't even hear about it. So we were all like Monday talking about it. And that's when when it was explained to me too, that's exactly what I thought too, Andrew. But I really do think it's just a procedural thing where, they get those 2 weeks to present whatever argument. But you're right, Steve, they're going to drag this shit out forever. That's the plan. I mean, we know that, like, the leaks that were put out, they're going to tie him up in legal shit, and they're going to just break him down mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. That's what they're doing. And, it's going to take a massive public pressure campaign to stop it. It really is. That's the only thing that will stop it. I think that's my opinion.
Yeah. And that, I mean, it's brutality, really. It's lawfare, if you want to call it that. And there's historical precedent for it. Look at Assad Shakur, right? Look at Sundiata Akoli, these political prisoners who've, were involved in Black liberation movements in the late 20th century. And, the government, mostly through COINTELPRO, saw that as the legitimate threat it was, but obviously chose to try to eradicate such people. And I think what we're seeing now with regard to Julian and other whistleblowers, if you want to call them that, is it's an iteration of the same brutality that was meted out to Black Panthers like Fred Hampton and others. And that's why Assata Shakur is in Cuba now, because she knew what was coming if she stayed around. Snowden knew. People, I don't even know why that's still a question. It's like what do you want him to do? Like, try to get back into the US,
I love the people who say that it's proof that he's a Russian agent because he's in Russia, not knowing that the reason he's in Russia is because we canceled his passport when he was in Russia trying to get elsewhere, and we trapped him there essentially. That's always fun.
But just my point being that, once you start getting anywhere and the government recognizes that, that's when they're going to come after you with whatever force they decide is necessary to take you down, whether that's murdering you in your bed like Fred Hampton, or illegally extraditing you from Canada like Leonard Peltier. So I think what we're seeing play out is again an iteration of that with Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning, reality winner. Daniel Hale, I'd like to mention Daniel Hale, if anybody's familiar with him, because I think he's another whistleblower we should.
He's another casualty of The Intercept.
Yeah. But yeah, that's, I think, we're seeing a, maybe a more modern or digital version of, what was done to resistance movements in the 70s, late 60s and in the 70s. And it's dangerous, and we should all be worried about it, because again, this is the pessimist in me coming out, but I don't see things getting better from where we are right now. I mean, Joe Biden is the American president. Like, if that doesn't, make you want to do acid, I don't know what will. It's just fucking ridiculous.
It's like Steve says, we live in a cartoon. It's unbelievably ridiculous right now. It's so bad. And, anybody that thinks Joe Biden is going to be better is just so not ready for what's coming.
Yeah. And no offense to acid. I like acid. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Really the only way you can get away from the just like that
ridiculousness,
the misery, the walking flesh-covered misery that is Joe Biden.
Bro, the reason that I have like 850 moderators is because when I'm in Washington, D.C., I smoke substantially more cannabis than I normally would do in order to sort of balance out the concentrated evil that just sinners in that miserable suckhole of infamy. And so I got the first night we were there in September, and I just decided that everybody get in the chat and for that moment got a
Blue wrench.
Now there's
By the way, no, we still need to Steve's audience. I'm gonna put it in the Discord too. To our audience, to Steve's audience, I'm putting it in the Discord too. We still need an Oprah GIF, but with Steve's face. You get a blue wrench. You get a blue wrench. I need it. Do we?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know I asked for it before, but nobody ever shared it with me. Why did nobody ever share it with me? What the fuck, you guys?
I put it in the freaking Element.
You know how often I check Element?
I tagged you.
Did you?
Yes.
See, okay, I'm gonna blame my ADHD. I know that's lame, but I'm going to.
Yeah, dude, I was totally like leaving that.
Glory's yelling at me. Steve, Glory's yelling at me. Missy, check the damn Element.
I'm looking at it right now.
I'm sorry, Glory.
This is gonna sound like a silly question, but what the hell is Element?
Element is an encrypted communication app.
Oh, okay.
It's Signal, but better.
Oh, did we talk about this the other day, Misty? Okay, okay, all right.
Still haven't downloaded.
I still haven't, no, but I'm going to. I will tonight.
I'll tell Jamie.
Yeah.
No, I'm a fan. We should probably not talk about it ever again.
Yeah.
So we don't ruin it. No.
Yeah,
I mean, when Elon Musk comes out and is like, yeah, you should get on Signal, right? As Signal's like, back everything up to the cloud and keep re-entering that pin and all the fucking wait, you need to do this update. You can't access any of your shit unless you do this update.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a part of that. I don't, and I still have some really good friends. The only way that I communicate with them right now is on Signal, and I got to get them over to something else just because I don't know, dude. I don't feel that great about it. I don't. I understand that in Vault 7 it said it took a complete hack of the phone and not a hack of the app, but that's before the app started back at telling you to back everything up on the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
That's shady to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so vague too. I still think the concept of the cloud is so vague as well. Like, ask somebody to define it, or somebody who doesn't work in tech to be general. You ask them to define it.
Josh might be able to shed a little bit light on it. I like to think of the cloud as the NSA's lap.
Yeah,
Yes.
pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, Signal in particular, like they're not storing your messages on the cloud, but they already have your fucking phone number, dude. Like they can map out your entire fucking network of people just with that one piece of metadata. So like, fuck Signal.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's like, Josh, you're so right. And I've seen so many journalists on Twitter who are like, it's probably changing now that these changes with Signal have been made, but DM me on my encrypted Signal, and it's like, it's your phone number, it's right? it might be Signal, but it's still your phone number.
That's your phone number. Yeah.
So I always found that very I've used Signal. Misty and I have used it. For some reason, my Signal isn't working anymore.
It doesn't work half the fucking time, I swear to God.
Yeah, so it's probably a good thing. But yeah, I think it brings up an important question, though. It's like companies like these who come out with encrypted means of communication, like Proton Mail, Signal, Element, like, I'm just curious what y'all think. Like, what are their chances of, maintaining their sort of original goal as opposed to being folded over like Signal has?
Element's open source, so they've got like code audits and shit like by the public, so that helps.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know the like how long these companies have been established, but it seems like the longer they're around, the more they get co-opted by.
Yeah, that's why you have to just constantly, like, you have to be vigilant all the time. That's what sucks. That's what's exhausting. You have to be vigilant all the time. You have to like constantly be checking and double checking and rechecking and then triple checking and reevaluating. It's like a constant job to keep up with these assholes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, the longer you use a lot of these apps, you see people kind of migrate. Because some of the apps will send you notifications when people sign up for the platform. So for a while, you see like your friends first get on one platform, like the normal people, and then some people and some things will migrate to another, and a few others will go to a separate platform. So it's really just, at least to me, using a bunch of them. Because he knows which ones are good, so don't rely on one of them for everything you do. It should be kind of the same way for devices.
Totally. Yeah. Decentralization of 100%. Like that's, we talked to Chicho about that, didn't we, Jesse?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
He's like, he talks about it all the time.
And
So
that's an advantage to Signal or Element too, is it's all decentralized. So you can run your own server. Like you don't even have to use like Matrix's own server. So I don't know, you can keep it a little more honest.
Cool. Definitely going to check that out.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to ask you all about is the way language has been being thrown about after, the so-called storming of the Capitol on January 6th, everything that might have even an intimation of support or just trying to explain Trump and or his supporters gets you cast in stone almost as a fascist. And I'm wondering how you feel about this manipulation of language to basically try to railroad people like us into shutting up, into that's why Twitter took Trump off of the platform. It's censorship, and it was a way to say like, we'll shut you up if we don't like what you have to say. So I'm wondering what you all think about that.
So we were there like before the events and all of like the whole thing. Like we weren't in, but we showed up, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes after everything initially started. We were at a 300,000-ish, 200 to 300,000-ish person event, just asking for election integrity. Like the people that were there knew what that term meant. They had some idea that voting machines are bad from whatever source they heard it from. And it wasn't like the greatest election integrity movement in the entire world. But as someone who is politically left in many senses, it's something Bernie Sanders never did. He had the evidence laid out in front of him in 2016 by WikiLeaks leading up and during the actual election convention, after he spent the whole time telling all of his supporters, this is rigged, I'm being cheated, and then was given the evidence and threw his hands up. And there was people that you talked to there that when you told them about that, they were like, yeah, we should have stood up for Bernie Sanders, but we didn't. And there was that mentality among the crowd too. So I think personally, the whole charade of terrorism is 32 people did something heinous and stupid, right? While 200 to 300,000 people get their voices completely ignored.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the greater.
It's been turned into a circus. And okay, so, yes, you're right. There were some bad people in there. There are bad people in every group. And I'm not like, I don't agree with most of those people on politics, on much of anything. But I'm really tired of people pretending like our elections are all of a sudden pristine and perfect and you can't question them. And obviously it was a fair election. That is so ridiculous. I don't even know where to start. If the election took place in the United States of America, it was a shit election. It was fraudulent. It was not legit. Your vote didn't count. Like, I don't think that there's any debating that. Like, it's really bizarre to me that otherwise intelligent human beings are pretending like our elections are fine all of a sudden. They're not fine. Are you kidding me? So it's this really bizarre thing where we're like being told we have to trust our elections suddenly, despite the fact that we have all evidence to the contrary that they're in any way, shape, or form legitimate. And if you even dare to question that, you're suddenly a conspiracy theorist and a wackadoo and a Trump supporter and a fascist and a Nazi. And you're right, Jesse. The language, I think we talked about this with Danny. He always talks about language, which I love, but the language surrounding this is incredibly dangerous. It's ridiculously like hyperbolic and just insane. It's insane. Like it's the same thing as like right wingers saying that Joe Biden is a communist. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Well, not all Trump voters are fascists. That's so ridiculous.
It's worse than just calling Joe Biden a communist, because that's farcical, but also incredibly impersonal. Calling 75 million or more Americans domestic terrorists, labeling every single person that was at that rally a white supremacist or a white nationalist or a Nazi or, a fucking fascist or whatever. Like, it's still farcical on its face, but it conditions people to further hate their neighbor, further distrust their neighbor, further look to one particular branch or one particular party in the government to provide all their solutions, all their safety, the source of their income and food. If the Great Reset people get their way, which, by the way, the World Economic Forum is meeting in Davos this week, and the theme is rebuilding trust. Well, you're going to propagandize an entire planet to own nothing and eat bugs doesn't fit on the gift bags.
Rebuilding trust. What does that even mean? It's like Biden's other
Build Back Better.
Yeah, Build Back.
I always
Better.
think of the baby back ribs. What is that? The old commercial, was it Chili's? Like, I want my baby back. That's what always reminds me.
Yeah, I assume he's referring to that he's going to build a better border apartheid wall on the southern border than Trump got around to doing. But maybe I'm wrong.
Hey, you need to go get some of that Cory Morningstar journalism up in you. And
do it.
I mean, she's done just incredible work on this over the last several years, and this is something that dovetails into what Julian Assange closes out the forward to cypherpunks with, because this is 100% the coming dystopia. Mm-hmm. To have a guy who looks like he stepped off the set of Star Trek tell you will own nothing and like it. You will eat bugs. Everything you use, you rent, and it will be delivered by drone. There's what do you think news is going to look like in that era?
Yeah, Jesse, we need to have Cory Morningstar on our show. I have been meaning, both her and Whitney Webb, but I'm intimidated a lot by both of them. So we have to work up my courage for that first.
That's fine. They both do great. That would be a show. They both do great work. So
yes. Yeah. Well, Steve, I said this to Steve before, like a show with like Whitney Webb or Cory would be like me saying, "Hey, welcome to Facts on the Ground. Our guest today is Whitney Webb. Okay, now talk." Just talk. And I'll just shut up, because that's you could just have her talk and it's the whole show and it's fine. Yeah, you don't need me at all.
Anybody who's watching who's not familiar with those journalists, definitely check them out, because they're doing some of the most important work right now.
You can find my most recent interview with Whitney Webb as my pinned video on
Good job.
Yeah,
Steve
yeah,
Oakley,
that's right.
You
Yeah,
just self-promoted,
right.
my friend.
Yeah, definitely
it.
watch that. Definitely watch that.
Totally giving myself ass smacks for that. I'll wait until we're off camera, but it's gonna happen.
You gotta hustle, man. You gotta hustle these days.
Steve and I are both terrible at it. We're terrible.
Those $2,000 checks ain't coming anytime soon. So.
Those $1,400 checks ain't coming. It's gonna be a while before you get that $900 check. That $600 check is taking a little bit longer than we thought to get it.
Well, we can get you this $400 check.
To come in the form of a digital dollar attached to your social credit score. You're welcome.
We just minted a bunch of nickels, so we'll be able to hand out some cents, but
vote blue no matter who.
Don't hold your breath.
Oh.
I mean, that's a whole other arena of ridiculousness.
Yes.
Crap. Can we go into that Craig Murray article?
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
We need to give Andrew props again because he's doing a good job trying to keep us on track.
He's holding it together there real well.
Yeah. Well, I'm waiting until we have some time where I can pull one of our scripted.
Just tell us to shut up.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, I rant.
I like rants. It's okay.
Ugh. I like everybody's rants but my own. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I feel the same.
While you're getting this pulled up, I'm gonna drop the link in here for everybody. Don't forget to help us share the 210 events that we have coming up. The goal is to get other people involved to hopefully turn local events over to local groups because we're not organizing all of it. I literally just told 210 cities 2 other times, hey, we're going to show up. So I figure for a 3rd time, I'll put it out to a larger community of people than the groups I was working with behind the scenes. And if you know anyone that's organizing with any other groups, please feel free to share our contact info. Or just point them towards our website because I would love to build solidarity networks with pipeline fighters and free press and free speech advocates and election integrity advocates and literally any issue you are facing. I want to try to make this a monthly event of getting people together outside of these buildings.
Right on.
Should we set up the Craig Murray article, give like a little backstory for people who may not have been following what's going on?
Sure. So former ambassador, journalist extraordinaire, longtime friend and supporter of Julian Assange, Craig Murray found himself under investigation and in court threatened with now contempt, for writing about writing about Alexander Salmond in a manner that the Crown deemed inappropriate. I mean, that's like it. That's the charge. The charge is essentially what they're calling breadcrumbing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Do you want to add a little bit more to that, Andrew? Because I've got quite a bit on it, but I've been also talking quite a bit.
Yeah. So with the breadcrumbing, at the same time, the establishment media of the day was doing the same thing, but in support of the position of the state. In that indictment, they actually cite the credibility of Craig as a impactful journalist by specifically saying he was doing court reporting on Julian Assange, right? Like, here's this article about Julian Assange. Look at how many views it got. Craig's a high impact journalist. He was breadcrumbing to try to help the prosecution, right? Fast forward, he loses his accreditation with the National Union of Journalists. In doing so, the National Union of Journalists doesn't get into the process of granting him accreditation to their institution. So he is then excluded from the cloud video platform that the UK court was using for Julian's trial. So he had to attend for the second round in person during that time while he had his own court case escalating behind the scenes. And Craig Murray is a man so ballsy enough as to basically put out a 2,000-word diss track about how shitty the charges against him were written, going line by line as they spelled important words wrong, skipped numbers, not even redacting things, but literally going from, like, I think it was 69 to 71, like just didn't even change the count, and did that multiple times throughout the whole thing. And he just points out each one of these fallacies, points out conflicts of interest. And the National Union of Journalists, to my knowledge, still hasn't done a single thing to defend him. So he had to be outside of court in the early morning to get in as a observer with the family, because the courts excluded him from the press booth, or he would have had to wait in the public gallery and then exclude someone like Rebecca Vincent out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Craig Murray is a bona fide badass.
Yeah.
Like, there's no question. He's an amazing journalist. Everybody, if you're not following his case, please do support him. This is another, like, it's not getting even as much coverage as like Julian, like it's not getting talked about really at all. At least not.
He's getting royally screwed over by the court.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it when we go into the article. But I mean, as much as Julian Assange's court experience was cartoonish and brutal and asinine and unnecessary, Craig Murray is experiencing a similar courtroom fuckery. And
the UK has highly draconian laws about press reporting, like to the point that most people, even in the UK, when they can legally report on a case, won't, because it like creates exposure for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because
they're not even allowing his family access to the video feed. Like that, his wife has to listen to what's happening in the courtroom on a phone all day. There's video feed, like they have video feed available, but they're not giving his family access to it because they said that her listening on the phone is adequate enough. Like that's sufficient. That's fine. It's like there's video feed available with his family. Just let them have access to it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and this it's not because they don't have the resources. They're doing that on purpose. It's part of
the course torture. They are.
It's part of the torture program.
It's process as punishment.
Yeah, it's part of the torture.
I'm disappointed that there hasn't been a release through some website or even through WikiLeaks of Julian's full court trial. All February, September, and then January.
That would be so good.
Like my heart hurts at the world that has not come out yet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would be so good. Oh,
just to put them on blast, because we would go through and pull out every fucking detail.
That would be so fun. I would love to see when Megabrain gets laughed at. I would love to see that. Are you kidding? That would bring me so much joy, you guys. I'm like giddy just thinking about the possibility.
But instead, technology is used to hide their secrecy in this court trial instead of being able to publicly.
The most important, like, court case on press freedom in history. Like, I don't think that's an exaggeration. To me, it seems obvious. And we, like, the people, this affects all of us, the entire globe. We have zero direct access to what's happening in that courtroom. Like, we have secondhand tweets, like live tweets from amazing journalists who are working their asses off trying to keep up with everything and tweet it out as fast as they can. And I can't even imagine what that's like, trying to keep up with a court case, like tweeting it. Like, that's insane. So, like, huge gratitude to like Kevin Gostola and Muhammad Almazi and Taylor Hudak and, you know, all of the Mary Kosakidis and all of the journalists who covered the trial, because I can't imagine. But we should have all had access to that courtroom, all of us, everybody, the world over.
I would add to that, kudos to all of you too. I mean, you've been doing incredible hard work,
especially Steve and Andrew and Sleepy, because
and relentless. It's relentless and it's beyond admirable. Sorry, I got tongue tied, but it's beyond admirable for me. to me. So I think, y'all should count yourselves in as doing just as important of work as those other journalists.
As long as it doesn't involve having to be a part of any sort of club, I'm perfectly willing to accept that compliment.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
No, I mean, you guys don't get nearly enough credit. Like I know, like taking credit away from a Kevin Gastola or a Muhammad Almazi. Like obviously they deserve credit,
not
but
at all.
Steve, Sleepy, and Andrew should get a ton more credit than they get because they were the only people waking up at the ass crack of dawn to cover what was happening in that case or in that court as it was happening. Trying to do it from like a secondhand, you know what I mean? Like you guys deserve more credit than you get for that, I think. So there you go. There's your, like, seriously, everybody should give credit to them, in my opinion. Like I
agree.
You guys did awesome work.
Yeah.
Also, the first like 5 days, the first hour of like,
and you too, Misty, you've been doing great work as well. So thank you to all of you for.
I'm terrible at accepting compliments, so I'm just gonna like sit there and not.
Yeah, I didn't sign up for this shit.
Yeah, I really hate compliments. I get
we
really.
Could all move away from.
Well,
Steve, we love you so much.
Great.
The compliment stands.
I do feel loved, though. Thank you.
Yeah, no, like not being facetious. I think it's very important, the work that y'all have been doing, and I feel.
Can we just say? Can I just say how much I love that Jesse's saying y'all? Because I say it and I think I'm rubbing off on him.
No, yeah, I just want to give you credit for that because even though it's not true, because I've been saying y'all for a long time.
Really? I never noticed it before.
Yeah, it's I would say like about 10 years, just as, it's a more
inclusive.
Yeah. It seems more inclusive to me, but no, your y'alls have definitely rubbed off on me. So, yeah, I think what you're doing is extremely important. There aren't, as big as the story is, there aren't that many independent groups. I don't even want to say group, like just people who have come together collectively who are fighting for Julian Assange's freedom, and it's definitely very scarce in the U.S. and I think y'all are one of the few groups that is doing like really important, impactful work. So it's, I always consider it a privilege to be able to talk to y'all and follow your work. So count yourselves among the do-gooders.
I'll try.
Okay.
It's growing though, I think. I mean, not fast enough and not loudly enough, but I think, especially, I think Steve said earlier, especially since September, we've seen people at least becoming more aware of what's happening. They may not necessarily be like completely up to date with how crucial it is, but they're at least aware of what's happening now, which is good. I mean, it needs to happen a lot faster. Honestly, I don't even know if it can happen fast enough at this point because we're so far gone, which I know that's very cynical. I'm sorry, but it really is just so far gone. Like we're so far behind. And if this whole domestic terrorism bill gets passed, and I mean, you saw the what is it? The bird house or whatever. There's something on Twitter now where you can like tell on each other for jokes. And
really?
It's like, yes, Twitter's launching this new thing where like now you can tell on each other. There's like a list of categories. I forget what it's called. Does anybody remember? Like Bird Watch. That's it. I don't know why I said birdhouse. Yes. So it's called Bird Watch. And it's like this tattletale system where you can like, there's different categories. It's kind of like reporting a tweet, but nicer, I guess, sort of. At least it's being marketed that way.
It's a kinder, gentler snitching.
It's more formal.
It's not even more formal. It's being like made to be like more like you're a do-gooder Boy Scout, like you're making this a safer environment.
It's somehow more passive aggressive too.
Yes, it's really bizarre, and people, it's the downfall of Twitter. I mean, this, you guys, it's bad. Like, it's gonna just get worse. And I hate to be cynical, but I don't know if we can like right the ship at this point. We're really in a bad spot.
We need to just organize birdwatch crews, right, and just go around and troll the flag. Like, throw up flags on every promoted tweet ever for the most heinous.
Yes. Well, I think we should go like I tweeted about this. Every blue check that like talks about overthrowing a government or whatever, like we need to go report that for violence.
Yeah. We need
I'm
to go
serious.
report
Like,
the
we need
CIA
to make
for
that a
lying.
campaign.
Yeah.
Yes. Every time. I just hit a cat.
What Birdwatch does is anything that anyone wants to claim as fake news, somebody can report that as fake news. And if Twitter decides that it's fake news, then they'll remove the post.
We need to camp on the CIA, FBI, NSA, and DOJ posts.
And just birdwatch
the fuck out of all of them.
Yeah.
So
when they promote one of those happy tweets, like, "Oh, the CIA is here to help you," like, you're fucking lying.
Or that shit is so
whatever the next
condescending
bullshit is. Whatever the next like unnamed sources story comes out when they try and talk about solar winds, or when they try and talk about the next hack that's going to be exactly like solar winds, that they want to say that unnamed sources have said it's Iran, or but well, how
about like Russiagate? Can we let's all go report like that kind of? But that's not how it's gonna be.
Can you retroactively birdwatch?
Yeah, I think we should be able to.
Yeah, Michael Michael Isikoff should be one of the first people put up against the wall.
Where are our Anons at?
Right?
But you
look, a little bit of playtime for you.
But like, seriously, I mean, not that you're not being serious, but like, if you go to Barnes and Noble and go to the current affairs or like the current politics section, and you look at how many books there are that have to do with Trump, whether they're for or against him, like how many people have made money off their books writing about Trump, like it dwarfs the Bush Jr. Era. It dwarfs Obama, and it's fucking insane. Like,
screen printers made so much money.
Yeah,
the people that were just like, yeah, I'm just gonna ride this fucking wave. Like, I'm gonna make my $2,000 no matter what, and just fucking slung T-shirts on street corners.
Yeah, and again, Michael Isikoff is one of those people, and I know grifter gets thrown around a lot, but I think he's an actual grifter, and I think he's a shit writer and a shit journalist, and tried to go on Democracy Now! and sell his garbage book, but nonetheless, like, it just, the tide of that nonsense has been overwhelming. And these same people who write these tomes against Trump have been making money off of him at the same time, which I think is a very sour irony, but I'm not sure they have any taste buds left. So
Craig Murray article.
Craig Murray article. Yeah.
Craig Murray article.
Yeah. How did we get to Michael Isikoff?
I don't know. But we can switch back to a good journalist.
Yeah. So Craig Murray.
He's a badass.
Yeah, he's great.
I had that article pulled up, I think. Do you want me just to...
Andrew, this is supposed to be your job.
I thought Steve looked like he was pulling it up, so I did.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was responding to something, but I can do that real quick. I'm happy to. I'm even happy to provide at least the initial voiceover.
I got it. I can okay, you got it.
Just about ready for my trial for contempt of court tomorrow, signing off a final affidavit in a minute. It is really difficult to get my head around the fact that I could very soon be jailed for up to 2 years for writing about the conspiracy to fit up Alex Salmon and reporting honestly and carefully on his trial, and face an unlimited fine. One of the features of the pretrial hearings and rulings has been the Crown refusing to disclose documentary evidence and refusing to allow my witnesses. It seems they're trying to get me convicted with no courtroom drama and as little said as possible. I have at this moment very little idea even of what evidence I shall be permitted to give myself from the virtual dock. I have, however, sworn on oath 2 affidavits, and the text of these will be published tomorrow on this blog, redacted for Jigsaw identification, once I adopt my evidence in court. You can listen live to the court case from 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. Access details are here, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that link gets thrown into the chats after the fact. I'm afraid it's a telephone link, not an internet link. It is charged as a normal call to London, which may be free depending on your own phone contract. I cannot understand at all why the court uses this phone technology rather than the web, particularly as there is no live video feed, as there is live video feed available to journalists. Finally, I'm afraid I again need money for my defense fund. I want to make very plain that I do not want anybody to give money who cannot afford it. I also do not want anybody to divert money to me that they would have donated to Julian Assange's defense.
Oh, wow.
Julian is facing far longer imprisonment than me, and frankly is much more important figure with a great deal more to contribute on the major issues facing society. With those caveats, if anyone can help or can donate to help me, I will be very grateful. Let's see. Okay, yeah.
So just on that real quick, think about how fucked our world is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like that one journalist is saying, hey, don't worry about me. Donate to this dude. Like my shit's like bad, but like this dude's way worse. Like please help him. But like if you're able to and otherwise have already done what you normally do or what have you, then you could help me. Like think about how fucked that is.
Yes,
like,
but can we also talk about how?
Like where is the headline for that?
Yeah.
Right. But let's talk about on the positive end. Can we also talk about how awesome it is that like you see Ed Snowden saying, if you're going to pardon any one person, please make it Julian Assange. You see Craig Murray saying, if you can't donate to both Julian and myself, donate to Julian. You see all of these people like David McBride. You see David McBride saying, hey, everybody, let's support Julian. And I know that if Julian were able to, he would be saying everybody needs to support David McBride and Craig Murray. And it's that I think there's this kind of this like family atmosphere where it's, everybody is in it for the right reasons. They're taking, there's no ego, there's no selfishness. Craig Murray is like saying, Julian Assange is more important than me, which Craig Murray is an unbelievably valuable journalist, human being. Like he deserves to be supported as well. But the fact that he is willing to say, please see Julian as the higher priority than myself. That takes a lot. That takes character. I mean, that's a good man. Like, you know what I mean? Like to me, that's a good person.
Yeah. That's integrity right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I didn't know that he came out with that statement, but it's, I don't want to say heartwarming because of what he's facing, but to know that there are people out there with that integrity and they stand by it, they don't roll over, is a good thing to know, I think.
Yeah.
And,
I think that's the one thing that like keeps me, that little like piece of my cold dead heart going. It's like when Chelsea refused to roll over on Julian, knowing what she was facing, like that's, knowing that there are people like that out there it gives me hope. Like there are good people out there who are fighting for the right things. And, like that makes me feel like better about, because it seems like, all of the people in charge are just monsters. And so knowing that there are good people out there, trying to combat that evil makes me feel better about life. I wish there were more of them though.
Yeah. And they're smart people. They're analytical people. They know what's up. They're not just trying to make a buck off of some, political symptom or phenomenon like Trump, I would characterize him more as a symptom, but, I think you get what I'm saying. Like that Barnes and Noble, example, it's just, But why is it that the journalists who have the most integrity, who are really doing journalism, who are really providing information that we need to know, why are they, why are they the ones that have to deal with this? I mean, even just he signed the affidavit, but just having to go through the case itself is like a form of torture, even if he's not physically tortured or visibly tortured. It's like, it's absurd. It's absurd. And that goes back to, for me, like what I was saying earlier, that I think it's just going to get worse from here. I mean, there are a lot of good people out there who are doing a lot of good work, but I think, the empires, they're not going to prevail, but they're going to wreak a lot more havoc than we've seen so far.
I had a really, really interesting conversation on Sunday with Jared Beck. And he said that one of the things that we're likely to see are more and more states pushing secession. He is under the impression that what Charlie Robinson and Jeff Berwick called the controlled demolition of the American empire, like part of that is the necessity of secession. It's an interesting concept, certainly. And like I feel like at this point I should make it very clear that no one is under any obligation to, like listen to everything that Jared says and then get mad at me for it.
Right.
I feel like
Are you saying that you and Jared Beck are not the same person and you don't share all the same opinions and beliefs? That's bizarre, Steve Wickenen. What are you talking about?
Doesn't that mean that you've co-signed every word and deed,
obviously,
thought and action he's ever had and never done? Is
shenanigans, sir.
Means?
This is shenanigans. Obviously,
if you talk to him, you must agree with 100% of everything he says.
Yes, that's how it
Otherwise,
works.
why would I have had him on, right?
Right. You can only talk to people you agree with 100% of the time, which means eventually it's going to be everybody sitting in a room talking to themselves.
Yeah. Yep.
But I don't know. I mean, I am all for people getting the heck out of major metropolitan areas and going and building a community way out in the middle of nowhere, because according to you in Agenda 2030, those areas are going to be left to fucking rot. So if you can make that flourish, go make that flourish. That's about where I'm at. I don't know, man. I'm going to continue to fight against all of this every step of the way, but hey, man, have a contingency plan or two.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you got to have a contingency plan, because I think...
Yes, Jack says, occupy Bohemian Grove, occupy Bohemian Grove, occupy Bohemian Grove, occupy Bohemian Grove.
I'm sad.
Occupy Whole Foods.
No, that there wasn't a Bohemian Grove free state, right? That there wasn't like Chaz Bohemian Grove and they pulled down the statues of Moloch and the eagle and the owl and like all of those statues, because like that's the end of it.
It's because you didn't send an email to Bohemian Grove, Andrew, saying that thousands of people were going to be descending on it. That's
a lot of emails.
It's all your fucking fault, homeboy. It is. Look what you didn't do.
I know, dude. Welcome to my world, bro. Welcome to how I feel.
Wait, did you say Bohemian Girl?
Bohemian Grove.
Oh, Grove. What the hell is that?
So, you want to do this one, Steve? You can do this one.
Oh my God.
Oh, here we go.
Time to break his brain.
Here we go.
I'm still a noob in the ways of the...
Andrew's going to get mad because we're so not talking about the Craig.
No, I like this. I like
Okay.
So Bohemian Grove is literally like a restricted, nearly 3,000 acre complex in Northern California, and it belongs to a private gentlemen's club called the Bohemian Club. And it's where every year they have a retreat with some of the world's leading pedophiles and sociopaths. Not leading, but like more like second to like
they call them the middle class.
Yeah,
like the billionaires that don't have enough money to play the game, that just have to participate, or they get
the people that are on their way up, because Bill Clinton went to the Grove before he was president.
Well, he's the lower class. He's the like highest low level puppet. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Yeah. So no, and they have they hold rituals and like wear fucking robes and shit. I mean, it's one of those like
it's disgusting.
We're going to
you don't fuck with kids. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Okay, so Alex Jones is partially famous because he snuck into Bohemian or broke into Bohemian Grove and went in with a video camera and shit like that. And this was like 99, I think it was. But the Bohemian Club has been around since at least the 70s. And it's just in the 70s there were a ton of these like think tanks and clubs and private societies that formed up because the CIA was bored, I guess. I don't
Jason Burmis, to his credit, does a lot of stuff about Bohemian Grove because they write, or for a time period, were writing annals, which are basically like a written documentation of the events. So that's a pretty cool. He has a pretty cool series on, not series, but talks about those.
He's got the annals too. You can order stuff. You can order like.
There's a whole lot of books that I'm not going to say on air.
Yeah. But
it's scary shit. It's like the art of the enemy.
It's pretty wild. It is. It would be a fun rabbit hole for you to go down.
Yes,
it would. I got stuck in the Tavistock rabbit hole for like way too many hours getting ready for Jared to come on.
No, see, I got so far down the rabbit hole that I'm mad that Alex Jones doesn't call them Thelmites and calls them Satanists. It's like you gotta name your enemy properly.
I think one of the few things good about Nixon is like he hated Bohemian Grove.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Jesse, that's definitely something that you should definitely.
Hunter S. Thompson did not. Hunter S. Thompson was a Bohemian Grove attendee.
I'm not surprised.
Wasn't Jerry Garcia
and
too?
Also used to be security at Esalen. For anybody familiar with Big Sur and the Esalen resort.
Wasn't the dead part of that whole thing?
Yeah. Both. All Jerry Garcia, Bob Weir, and Phil Lesh, all Bohemian Grove attendees and club members. And like when you approach Bob Weir and you're like, Bohemian Grove, dude, really? And he goes like, well, how else are we gonna reach that audience?
That is,
and then like smiles at you like you should be on the inside of a Bohemian Grove joke, and I'm sorry, but no, I'm never going to be on the inside of a Bohemian Grove joke.
That sounds like he's having a stroke while he's trying to provide an answer. Like it's ridiculous.
Bobby?
Yeah, like
well, because he's like. Dude, if you were Bob Weir and that many research chemicals had been pumped into you from the time you were like 15, you'd be a little eggy too.
Yeah. Also, I mean, no offense to any of y'all if you're Grateful Dead fans, but Grateful Dead is like one of the most boring bands I've ever listened to. Like, I'd literally rather watch.
You are my spirit animal.
Like, I'd literally watch like. I'd rather watch like dust collect throughout the entire day than listen.
They are really boring.
Yeah. So
a lot of years in those parking lots, man. But yeah.
No, I'm not. I mean, if
you're like high as a kite, it's okay. Like it's I mean, you're on acid or ecstasy or
It couldn't make this good, but it made the Dead sound all right.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that's my opinion. I mean, like what you like. I more than sure that there's music I like that other people would have the same opinion of. But
everyone hates my music, so
What, the whole 5 songs?
That's true. You get a pass for Immortal Technique, though. You do. Straight up. Yeah. And like, Jerry Garcia could take the Pepsi Challenge banjo for banjo with just about anyone living or dead. That was some good shit.
do we want to wrap up? It's about that.
Yeah, although I feel like it's necessary to. I was sent Dreadful Wind and Rain earlier today, and that is a delightful folk song about a jealous girl who murders her sister and throws her into the river, and said random, yeoman Miller pulls her out and leaves her on the bank, and a while later a fiddle player wanders by and crafts an instrument out of her remains. It's wonderful.
And who performs the song?
The version that I sent was Jerry Garcia and David Grisman.
Oh, okay.
Guitar and mandolin, but I'm sure that you can find it in a more traditional instrument, like a lyre, but lute, maybe.
It's like a traditional ditty, if you will.
Yeah, ditty is probably the wrong word, but
no, I that's completely the wrong word, but
I like that word, ditty.
Yeah, less
I do like that word.
A jig too.
We need a ditty,
more of a dirge, if you will.
Dirge, yeah. I think that's what I was going
Allergy.
for. Yeah,
Not a liturgy, but allergy. But now I'm just talking nonsense. I really am.
We're going into syllogisms now.
Right?
But if you could, Jesse, let people know where they can find you, give some final thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, thank you so much for having me on again. It's always a pleasure to come on, and it's fun, but we talk about some real ass shit that's going on, and I think that we are, not to toot our own horns, but I think we're putting out some valuable information and providing a space for that information to be discussed and analyzed. A space that you're certainly not going to find on cable television. And I would, just as parting words, I would say to anybody who's watching or listening who is either has already invested themselves in the cases of whistleblowers or who's new to the cases of whistleblowers, I would say stick with your solidarity. These are really important cases because once the cages are done with them, the cages are coming for us. Make no mistake about that. And it's not on mainstream media. You're not going to hear about it on MSNBC, but it is the story of our lifetimes, as melodramatic as that might sound. And so pay attention to it, do what you can to show your solidarity. Everything helps. Donate to the vigils, to Slow News Day if you can, and just keep the action going. And if you're interested in following me, you can find me on Twitter at Jesse Zurawell. It's just JESSEZURAWELL, capital J, capital Z. And then Misty and I also co-host a show called Facts on the Ground. We put out several shows a week, again, trying to provide a space for those political conversations that not just mainstream media, but a lot of independent media doesn't provide. And I think our main thing is we don't pull any punches, and there's nothing that's taboo for us. So we're willing to get into whatever might get our hands dirty, but that's where you can find me. That's where you can find Misty. Misty is at Sarcasm Stardust, which is
Are you really doing this again to me, my friend?
Yeah, it's a great name. I like saying Sarcasm Stardust.
It's
Are you
Mindy.
doing her clothes for her?
It's
Yes.
Mindy.
Yeah.
Mindy. Where's Pasta? Where's Pasta?
Where's pasta?
I don't know.
I don't think
Fucker calls me Mindy.
Oh, he did.
Oh, and
He
sorry,
does.
Pasta.
Yeah.
I doubt pasta.
Pasta's mom's definitely watching. I think we're like the only people live right now.
Pasta's mom watches when pasta's on, but
yeah.
And last thing I'll say, and Misty, I always do this. There's always one more thing, right? No, but thank you again to all of y'all. Like, and we haven't met in person yet, but I hope that will change. But thank you for for showing me respect and solidarity and thinking that I have a voice to contribute, and just thank you for accepting me into your community, if you will. It's a really nice thing, and I deeply appreciate it. I know we might have our differences sometimes on different issues, but I think we're all in the same boat in the end. So,
well, that's the whole point. We talk about having difficult conversations. That's what we do here.
Yeah. So that's I'll leave it at that. But thank you so much again.
I really appreciate you joining us. It was literally last time we were like, hey, let's see if Jesse can come on. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I'm always down to come on. So anytime you need me, I'll be there. That sounds like some weird Three's Company shit, but
we're gonna outro with a song today.
Little lighters.
But you can find me on Twitter.
The closing speech from Grapes of Wrath now.
You can find me on Twitter at Andrew Zigman. You can find us on Twitter at action_4Assange. You can find all of our call to actions at action4assange.com, including the newest one. Thank you to everybody. Thank you for Josh and Steve and Misty and Jesse. I appreciate everybody watching. Those that support Steve and have been hopping over onto Rockfin's really cool. We need to shout that out more at the start of the show. So, but yeah, thank you everyone for making this possible.
Yeah.
Okay. And I am Misty Winston. As Jesse already said, you can find me on Twitter at Sarcasm Stardust. And you can find our show on YouTube and on the Rockfin, Facts on the Ground. We had a marathon week last week, tons of great stuff. We interviewed Justin Jackson. We interviewed, who did we interview? Jeffrey Ventry, who is the whistleblower from Blackfish.
Mm-hmm.
We interviewed Krish Mohan last night. We interviewed Scott Denoyers, who's a Force the Vote activist and Medicare for All activist. Just tons of really cool people were on. We have a lot of great stuff lined up. So definitely check us out, subscribe, all that stuff. And
all the interviews that haven't been posted are going to be
we're working on it.
They'll be up in the next day. By tomorrow.
Because my internet's really slow, and so there are times when I can upload a video in a couple hours. There are times when it takes 16 hours. So it just depends. So we really are trying. We just did a marathon week. There's a lot of videos to get uploaded, and I'm trying to help Jesse as much as I can, but it's slow going. So we're trying. We really are. So yeah, definitely check those out. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Oh, also, and don't forget the letter writing campaign that I started. I actually didn't really start it. Somebody mentioned it to me.
We need to put that on the website, by the way.
Yes, please. I think I was supposed to send Sleepy the link to the Discord, and I didn't. I'm sorry, Sleepy. I'll do that. But yeah, I honestly, I really didn't need another project. But somebody suggested it on Twitter and it kind of snowballed, and so we're going with it. So every Monday, I think, is the plan right now. We're still kind of figuring out exactly what we're doing. I think the plan right now is to every week write a letter to Joe Biden, and then we're going to try to kind of build on that. So also do Joe Biden and an MP from the UK or somebody from Australia or whatever. We're just going to start branching out, adding on different people. We're also going to start writing letters to Julian Assange himself. I spoke to Stella today and asked her if he's actually receiving his mail. Obviously, there's no way for her to tell for sure that he's receiving all of it, but he is receiving some. So it is worth it to send letters to him. His mom also says that he enjoys like pictures of actions. I'm going to send him pictures from our protests in DC.
I don't know if you can send pictures.
No, you have to print them on paper. Like you can't print that, like have like pictures, but you can print just like on regular, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So like make a collage or whatever and just print it on regular printer paper. If you go to writejulian.com, there's like a list of all of like the things you can and cannot send. So that's a good source for that. But yeah, there's no way for us to know that he's getting all of his mail, but we know that he is at least getting some. And so I'm sure he could definitely use that lift in spirit. So if you have 5 minutes, send him a quick letter, tell him, that we're fighting for him and that we're doing everything that we can. Just, try to boost his spirits a little bit. I can't imagine what he's going through. So yeah, if you have 5 minutes, that's something that you can do just to make his day a little bit better, I think. So, yeah, if you want to join in on the letter writing campaign, I'm trying to get a group GM going. It's really hard for me to keep track of everybody that wants in and make sure I'm inviting everybody that needs in. And
but there's
put me on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a lot. It's because it's a lot. My mentions are a mess anyways. And then you add this onto it and I'm struggling. I won't lie. So I'm trying, I really am. But there's also a Discord server. I can post a link to that. I am trying to be active in there. That's also hard. I really am trying though. I promise you guys. So yeah, we're trying to get it organized, doing the best we can. But if you want to participate every Monday, that's what we're going to do. So, and thanks to everybody in the chat. And thanks to Sleepy Josh as always, and my co-hosts, from this show and my co-host Jesse.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love
thanks,
you guys.
Josh. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks,
always.
Jesse. Hey, Emma's got a question in chat about sending him stamps.
Oh, you can't. Oh, yes, you can send him stamps. Go to writejulian.com. You can send him stamps if you want to have him message you back or write you back. You can send, I don't know if you can send a self-addressed stamped envelope. I think you can. Please go to writejulian.com because I don't want to give you inaccurate information. And it's been a while since I've written them, so I'm honestly a little fuzzy on it too. So make sure you get the real information. And if you want to send mail to him, you can order stamps online to like British, you know what I mean? Like
she's saying Royal Mail is letting her down.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of people have been having problems.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been having problems. I will see if I can find somebody who has a solution to that. I don't know if maybe Stella could help or I don't want to bother his mom. His mom's been really stressed out. But I'll see if I can find somebody who has a solution to that, and I'll get back to you guys. Okay, deal? Because I honestly don't know the right answer for that yet. So I'll figure it out. I'll either tweet about it, put it in the Discord. If I remember, I'll mention it on Saturday's show if I figure it out by then. But I'll try to find a solution.
Awesome.
My name's Steve Boykin, I have a show called Slow News Day that you should be watching on the Rockfin. You should be watching this on the Rockfin too. It's where we'll be when YouTube decides they've had enough truth out of us for one day. I really am amazed that we still have a YouTube channel. But we're also on DLive and Odyssey, and really I did just go make a free Rockfin account. If you're inclined to support the show, it's $9.99 a month. You get everybody else's premium content on the network, which includes wonderful programs like Facts on the Ground. New Rockfin members.
Yeah. Thank you thank you, Jaime, if you see this.
You what?
I said thank you to Jaime if he sees this.
Yeah.
And also Scott at Rockfin, who helped us get set up and get everything going, like logistically.
At any rate, unless I am unable to broadcast because we're all the way up Schitt's Creek, Vanessa Beeley will be joining us on Sunday. It's always a wonderful conversation with her, even though it's going to be incredibly heavy. So make sure you're there for that. We've got a lot of good stuff coming up, and just thanks everyone. Thanks Sleepy Josh on the ones and twos, Jesse Zurawell, Misty Winston, Andrew Smith, everyone in the chat. I fucking love you guys. Thanks to everyone who was watching on Rockman, supporting the show over there. Again, please go make that free account. We'll see you soon. Good luck to us all.